Welcome back to the channel. I got a few clips here. Got a shot of this building and I ended up taking it and adding this artificial sky in the background and then did a little day for night kind of thing. Let's show you how I did it. So this is the original clip here. I took a copy, brought it over to the color page, and we have two nodes here. So let's go ahead and show you how these work. On the first node, we went ahead and did our key. So I will disconnect both of these and we'll show you how to do it. So we'll just put this in like it would normally be starting out. And over here, I'll go ahead and reset this back to waveform and shrink up our view here. So here I just did a qualifier key. And as I might have showed you in the other video, you have a default qualifier here. So depending on which one you have chosen, I'm going to go ahead and use 3D, which is this little cube. So I can hit that and that changes it to 3D. And then we're going to go ahead and make a little stripe over here. And as we do that, it gives you a preview of what's going to be shown. Anything that's white will be see-through and anything that's black will remain. So now we need a sky replacement. So over here in the effects library, just type in sky and get your sky replacement and drop that in line. And that connects your regular video. You'll have to connect your alpha and then bring your alpha over to here. So basically pass it through. Now it's a little weird because you don't see it, but what you have to do is come over to your sky replacement node and start making your adjustments here. So you can hit preview mask and that shows you what your key is going to look like. So you can start to change how dialed in that is if you don't have a clean key. So that gives you a little bit of adjustment there. Now, if you have preview key selected, it disables everything else. So you have to enable it, disable it to keep going. Now we have source sky appearance. This will change your color space and then also give you some color parameters. So if you needed it to be in a different color space other than what your timeline is, or you want a different gamma point, you can adjust that here. And then you can change some of the color options here. To get your artificial sky, you need to click on it and nothing's happening still. Well, what you got to do is sky opacity and bring that up. Now that's going to start bringing the sky in. And you can hit preview artificial sky, and this will give you just the sky without your composite. So now you can really start to dial in the look that you want. So if you want the sky a little bit darker of a blue, you can bring that in. Then you have horizon color. So depending on sort of the time of day. And then you have softness. What's the gradient look like? You have the height, and you can change the horizon angle as well. And then once again, to get rid of this, you have to click off the preview to see your composite. And then you can have clouds. So same thing, you gotta bring up the opacity level. And then these are cool. You have cloud scale. So how big are they? You have a little bit of a shape change. Let's go ahead and hit preview sky again just to see more of the clouds. You have cloud tilt, cloud detail. So let's maybe widen them out a little bit. Cloud fill. So how bright are they? You have contrast levels. And then you have cloud time, which changes the shape of the clouds over time. So you can keyframe this to make it look like the clouds are moving in the background. So let's bring these down a little bit. Take a look at what it's doing so far. Now, of course, the first thing you see is the clouds aren't moving. So towards the bottom, you have sky position and you have track foreground. So let's go ahead and hit that. And this basically tracks the movement of your shot. And of course, the composite is showing you the background here, but you can take care of that after it's done tracking. So as it finishes, it's going to match the movement of whatever the object is in the scene. And now you can adjust the size, so you can bring it up here if you need to. You can also change it independently with the left and right. You can flip it, and you can actually add some lens distortion and exposure, some grain. So it gets pretty flexible for getting your final look. Then you have foreground appearance. If you needed to make some adjustments to integrate it into your shot a little more, maybe desaturate it a little bit, change the temp so it matches the color of the sky a little bit more. You can always do this on the node itself with the color grade. The grain's a little pronounced on here as well. And of course, the sky now has grain and our foreground doesn't. So I'm actually going to shut the grain off. Normally I would add that after the fact so the whole thing gets grain. And let's just take a look and see what this one looks like. so now the clouds are moving. We got some funky stuff going on in our key. So we could probably clean that up a little bit more. Maybe use this despill. We got a little bit going on right here. So I'm going to go ahead and rekey this. So I got a little bit of weird edge. Use the blur radius and denoise it a little bit. So anytime you need to make a better key, you can always Shift H to highlight, and this will show you your key. You can see the key area, and if you want to make a little bit of adjustments to see exactly what's getting keyed, this is a good way. So I'll crank this despill a little bit more, and I'm paying attention to the edge where this building meets the background. And of course, if you need to add a little more, under the 3D qualifier, this is global picker. This is your subtract and addition, and then you have an invert, and then these are your on-screen controls, whether it's going to turn black and white or not, or show you the path, which is this little blue stripe up here. So I'm going to go ahead and choose add and get this last little cloud right here. You can see we're getting a little bit there. So we might need to isolate that. You could put a power window over that as a safe isolation, but I'll leave it for now. And let's crank up this blur radius and just see if we can get a little more separation between the foreground and the background. All right, so Shift H to go back. So now you can see we got a little feathery edge down here, and I don't like that. So let's go ahead and try to pull that down. That's going to be the in and out ratio. So sometimes it takes a lot to make it make effect before you start seeing it. So I'm going to go ahead and slide that over until it starts to close the gap there a little bit more. That looks a little bit better. And let's move the blur radius just a hair. Let's go extreme. See, it almost looks like a gradient. So I'll tighten that up a hair too. I want a little bit, then I don't want that super hard edge where it's like a definite giveaway with the harsh white line right at the edge of the building. There we go. Kind of split the difference a hair. Hit Z to zoom back out in your preview window. So we still got a little tiny edge. Might be able to work with that a little bit more. Maybe bring the highlight down. Shift H to see what we're doing again. And then I'm going to denoise. Usually despill works quite a bit of magic while you're working this. So I'll go ahead and bring that up. And then we'll go back to our sky replacement and let's just take a look. So I'll probably add some more clouds. There we go. I do like this cloud detail and of course the cloud fill. And you can add a sun in there if you wanted to, which is directional as well. So that can go to help selling the shot if you want to use the sun depending on the day. Then of course you have your sky integrations, which will help sell the look as well. All right, so that's essentially that. Let's go to the next clip. And this one kind of has a totally different look, and that's because I did it over in Fusion. Now I was kind of messing around with sky replacement. I hit Shift Space and popped up our tool select, and there's a day sky. So starting from scratch here, let's go ahead and get rid of that. Here's our shot as it stands. I hit Shift Space to get our tool select and shows day sky, and hit add, and then connect this arrow to right here, and it's going to make a merge for us. And then it pops up here. We don't want that. We have some other controls. We have the merge and the day sky over here. So you have to click on it to get it. So with the merge, we want screen and in. And then we can go over to the day sky and basically start changing certain parameters. So let's look at the day sky. I'm going to grab it and flick it over to this viewer here. What's kind of neat is you have a month and a day, sort of mimic where the sun is during those times. Then you have latitude and longitude. You have turbidity. You have exposure. And then you have advanced controls with just brightness for your horizon. So kind of like the artificial sky. And then the gradient of the longitude, circumsolar region. So you can really dial it in to get a look that you want. And then this is changing the parameters of the dimensions. And you can change the color space and everything again. And then if we go back to our media out, so I'm going to click this node and flick it over to our preview monitor, but I'm going to click back on the day sky. So you can keep adjusting it here if there's certain things you want, like you want to see the edge of the horizon a little bit more pronounced. We can do that. And it's cool because it goes over the entire image. Now it might look a little blue. Maybe you want to change just the look of it. And you can still color correct this as well. So if you wanted to add a corrector in between this day, there's a color corrector node right here at the top, and you could hit that, add it in line, and you can maybe give it some more contrast. So it's a good way to change the tone of the day. And then when you have merge here, because you're merging these together, you can think of the merge as your blend here. So you can actually lower it and just go a little more subtle. And then that way this day sky, I'm using Command P to disable and enable this node. But that's a pretty big change and looks pretty credible. So that's a pretty nice little way to change the lighting of your shot and not have to do a whole lot of work. Just a couple of notes. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys on the next one.